Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Finally getting my card made for this week's Color Throwdown Challenge, and also getting a chance to use one of the newer Simon Says Stamp Big Picture Book wafer dies. They released a whole bunch with their Stamptember release at the beginning of the month, and they're so much fun. I've literally had them sitting beside my desk. That when I moved, I put them right back beside my desk. And then had to use it for this color combo because the color combo was like an aqua, a green, and gray. And looking at it, I kind of dithered with what I was going to do. And then I was like, wait a minute, there's that big Hippo wafer die. That could be gray. I could do a green and blue background. Yay. So, card base, heavyweight white cardstock cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. So this is a top folding A2 size card. And I am sponging Distress Oxide inks onto this using my glass mat. I talked about this in my last video, how much I am loving smushing my ink tools onto, into the ink pad and then smushing it onto my glass mat to move the ink around and to remove some of the excess ink. And then I'll just work off my glass mat when I'm sponging, and I am getting way better results. I have struggled over the years with getting, decent blends in that, and I am finding this is working a lot better. And with oxides, I will say, out of all the types of inks, different dye inks, etc., the oxides are definitely probably the easiest when it comes to sponging and blending, but it always depends on the look you're going for. Right now, I'm just obsessed with the oxides because they're just fun to play with. So I used Mermaid Lagoon and Mowed Lawn for my blending. And then, of course, I sprayed it with, I flicked water all over the front of it and picked it up with a paper towel. And then when that was all dry, I also splattered more of just the Mermaid Lagoon ink onto it, just to give it, a little bit of color and texture. So then I set that aside to let that completely dry. And then to create my little hippo, I ran this through my die cut machine with scraps of 2 shades of gray cardstock. I used Simon's Smoke and Fog cardstock. And then just a little scrap of black cardstock, and then a really light pink cardstock for the inside of the ears. And these are really easy to work with because they're so much larger than the original picture book dies, which I still love. I have those all just close by at all times because I like, making them and putting them together and doing all sorts of things with them. So with these, though, you're dealing with you don't have the tiny little eyes and the tiny little pieces and that. These are quite a bit bigger. So they can work so well for, if you want to make decor and whatnot with them. But you'll see when I finish the card, as an A2 card, how much space these take up. They're huge. They're so fun. So I found the easiest way with this one was to just use washi tape and tape it from the back to adhere everything together and to pop the, the eyes and the inside of the ears into place, because you won't see the washi tape and it's just handy and easy to work with. So I used to always use Scotch tape to put everything together, and I'm finding more and more it's use washi tape. You can't see it through the cardstock. It's easier than Scotch tape because you can tear it. So it's just, yeah, I have this, people always ask what I do with my washi tape, and it's I hoard it. I have tons of it. And then I'll use it for things like this where you never see it in the end. But this is one great way to start using it up. So yeah, taped everything together with the washi tape. And then I added just little highlights and details with my white gel pen just to give it, a little bit of extra character and whatnot. So drew in the little highlights and dots with my gel pen. And then for the die cut sentiment, this is the Painted Friend wafer die from Simon that came out eons ago. This is one of my just, oldie but goodie favorites that I still reach for all the time. So I only die cut this twice from white cardstock. I didn't want to make it really dimensional because this card in the end, I'm kind of adhering everything and keeping this a fairly kind of flat, fairly simple card. So I just did 2 layers just to give it a little bit extra, but nothing, not too much dimension. And I just adhered those together with Studio Caudia glue. That was just released, was that a week ago? 2 weeks ago? Studio Caudia had a release. I did a release and review video on it and a Halloween video. And yeah, I pulled out the glue because I was I need to start, playing with this and seeing what I think of it. So far, I really like it. So I used that to adhere the 2 die cuts together. And then for the rest of my sentiments, I'm using the new Tiny Words stamp set from Simon. That's also just pretty much on my desk all the time. And I am stamping just onto this large scrap of black cardstock with Simon's clear embossing ink. And I'm stamping a bunch of the sentiments from the set. So I'm stamping them and then I'm coating them with Ranger's super fine detail white embossing powder. This is definitely one of the most detailed embossing powders I've ever used. I have the white, I also have a silver and a gold by Ranger, and they're literally the finest embossing powders and perfect for really narrow, very tiny things like this. Anything with a ton of detail and really, really small things, this is the type of embossing powder you want, because you won't get a whole lot of dimension with it, but it'll pick up all that detail. So heated everything with my heat tool and used this embossing powder. And then I use the smallest of the Simon Sentiment Labels wafer dies to die cut all of these. So I have them in perfect straight little strips. Seriously, these dies are a game changer. I've said this again in videos. When they first released them, I was like, these are nice, whatever. And then they became something I reach for pretty much every single card I make. I struggle still at times, you know, cutting things straight with my paper cutter, especially little sentiments and that. Usually I'm able to fudge it and eyeball it and whatnot, but these just make it so much faster and I just don't have to think as much. So they're wonderful. Highly recommend. So I'm here adhering everything to my card base with that Studio Caudia glue. So I've adhered my little hippo, and I'm going to adhere the die cut sentiment. And then those stamped and heat embossed sentiment, I just kind of sprinkled along the card as well. So it says, hello friend, you're one of a kind, you're fabulous, you're the best. And then the last sentiment I'm going to adhere on the inside, and it just says, I treasure our friendship. So adhered that. And then there's a final little bit of embellishment. I also use the new Studio Caudia. These are the Clear Drops Mix 2, and they're also perfect. I thought those would be really cute with just this background and these images and, you know, hippos and water and all that stuff. So I sprinkled these fairly liberally on my card front. I just poured them into a little magic tray so I could pull out the different sizes, because there's, I think, 3 sizes in this pack. So pulled those out, and then I'm just going to adhere those into place with that same glue. I'm just going to pick these up with my jewel picker, put down a little dab of the glue. When the glue is still wet like this, you can see it looks white behind the drops, but it will dry clear. So you will not see the glue at all once it's dry. So I'm going to put those into place, and that's going to finish off my card. So as always, I will have a link below the video to my blog post. I'll have a link to the color challenge for this week. I'll have a supply list with links to everything I use, so you can check that out below if you are interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting on my videos. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye.